Good afternoon, Dwayne here, Dry Creek Wrangler School. It's Sunday afternoon, and I'm going to try to make another video. We got one thunderstorm's already come through, but it didn't leave much rain, but we got another one. You can probably hear the thunder in the background. Hopefully the wind's not going to be too much of a problem. When you go into the wrangling lifestyle, or the packing outfitting lifestyle, or cowboying on a ranch, they all have one underlying foundation across all three of them, and that's horses. I don't cowboy because I love cows. I cowboy because it's an excuse to get paid to work off of a horse. Wrangling is because riding horses. Packing is horses, and outdoors. And part of this work is training horses. And that's what I want to talk about today. Not technical how-to on training horses. This whole YouTube video thing is still new to me, and I keep going back and looking at my videos, and I'm finding that a lot of my focus is not on point-by-point instructional how-to, but it's on the philosophy of things. I say in a lot of my videos that you got to do you, and that holds to that. It's true. And so, and horse training is the same thing. So I have a 8-month-old filly out here that I just bought a little while back that I'm going to start her groundwork here before long. In fact, we had her out on the halter last night, and got me thinking about this thing about horse training. If you're anything like me, if you've been doing this for a while and you've been trying to train your own horses, I'm guessing there may be a chance that you may have reached a certain point of frustration. You feel like you're missing something. You feel like you're just not able to do what you thought you were going to be able to do. You found a horse trainer that you really like, and it didn't proceed like you dreamed that it would, and now you're like stuck. You're at a plateau, or you're disappointed, or you just don't know where to go and you feel lost in training your horse. You're not getting what you want. And that's what I want to talk about. When I started out in this particular lifestyle about 30 years ago, I didn't know beans from apple butter, and that's fact. And so, I mean, I had grew up riding, and I could ride all, fairly decent, but I didn't know anything. It's sprinkling rain. We'll see if it lets up. And I got a job. My first job was actually a packing school out of Chalice, Idaho. And so I went out there, and it was all just regular old school horse. I say horsemanship, but it didn't have the connotation that has today. And so I moved to Kansas, and I had a real good friend that was a cowboy in Kansas, and I started learning from him, but he was pretty old school. And he gave me a videotape one day. This is long before CDs or DVDs. He gave me a videotape of a fella out of Oklahoma named Sam Powell. And I watched that video, and it was my first glimmer, my first inclination that there's more out there. And I knew enough to know when I was working a ride, and I'm like, this can't be all there is. I mean, it can't be this primitive. And then after a little while, I got a hold of another videotape, VHS videotape of, I'd never heard of him before, of Pat Pirelli. And so I watched that tape, and I'm like, there is more. And so I got what I could from him, but without being problematic. I only got so far with him, and I'm like, well, this isn't no further here. And then in, I don't know, about 2002, I went and spent a week down in Bluffdale, Texas, at one of Craig Cameron's clinics, and I learned a little bit from him. I did not learn $1,600 worth of what the clinic cost, but I picked up a little bit, and they fed me really good, so that helped. But I learned from him, and I've got his Ride Smart picture book, and I've got a couple of his horse training DVDs, and I learned from him. And then I found Buck Brannaman, and I learned more from him than from anybody else. But you name it, Martin Black, Chris Cox, um, Larry Troca, I have consumed everything that I can consume, everything I can find. There's only one nationally, internationally renowned horse trainer out there that I don't give a flip for. I don't have anything to do with, and I don't like him, and I don't recommend him. But even at that, I'm not an authority, and if you happen to like the guy and he helps you, then that's fine. And so in case of that, I'm not even going to tell you his name because he might help you. But all of that is my point. If you're studying under, if you find a guy and you like him, all right, whether it be Pat Pirelli or Buck Brannaman or whoever, and you really like his personality, you like the way he lays stuff out, and you get to a certain point and you can't proceed past that point, that's not your fault. There is no fault, okay? I really like Brannaman's approach to stuff, and I use his stuff as much as I can. But I have a major handicap when it comes to doing Buck Brannaman's horsemanship. And that major handicap is I'm not Buck Brannaman. I don't have his personality. I don't have his history. I don't have his background. I'm not him. I'm me. And so what I finally had to learn after all these years is I have to do me. And I can take a little bit. I can even take a little bit from Pirelli. I can take a little bit from Craig Cameron. I take quite a bit from Craig Cameron. I can take a little bit from the guys I've worked with. I can take from what I can do from Buck Brannaman. Guys on video, there's an Australian guy on there. His name's Warwick Schiller. I really like that guy. He's got a certain approach to explaining horse behavior that I really like. But what I'm saying is I consume everything, and I sort through it, and I use what I can use. Because you've got another handicap sometimes too. When you go to these clinics, or you go to, or you watch them on DVD or whatever, these guys always have round pens and arenas, and they have what they need to do this stuff. Now, I'm out here on this ranch. There's not a round pen on this ranch. There's not an arena on this ranch. There's not any kind of circular corral on this ranch. Now, if I said, well, this is the way Craig Cameron does it, so I have to do it like Craig Cameron does, or I'm not doing it right, I'm in a pickle. I can't do anything. I mentioned in I mentioned in one of my past videos the fact that I had a group call me several years ago from China and say, Dwayne, will you come break some horses? And I said, sure, I will. And they said, what do you need? I said, I need a 50-foot round pen. That's what I want. Well, when I got there, they had no concept what a 50-foot round pen could. It was a 50-foot diameter circle. The posts were about that big around, and there was 2 rows of poles around that were about that far apart. And I had he was about a 5-year-old stud colt. And when he'd had enough, he just ducked between the bars and just left. And it rained for 19 straight days, and the mud in places was literally, I'm not exaggerating, that deep. So I did not have anything that I saw on the video. I'm like, well, what would Pat Pirelli do? Well, Pat Pirelli would have a round pen in an arena, and it didn't have it. It didn't have any of that. And so I took a brick building of a wall, which had a high place going up to it, and I worked that horse up on that high place on a lead rope between that wall, and got him doing squeeze in between, and got him and worked him, did all the groundwork up there, and then just got on him and rode him. And so one of the downsides to getting sucked into exclusivity of any of these big name trainers is you're not them. You don't have their experience. You don't have that 30 years of that touch, that timing, and that feel. And you don't always have the facilities that they have. So what you have to do is you have to take the philosophies, the understanding of the horse concept, the understanding of yourself, and you have to modify it to fit you. And so until you become the horse trainer that is you will never reach the potential of the horse trainer that you can be. Now this little filly I'm going to start out here, Um, so she's not halter broke. We had her out on halter yesterday. She did really well. But when I bought her, she wasn't halter broke. None of this stuff. I can't go into a big round pen and do joint up. Okay, there is no Monty Roberts going on here. Okay, I cannot, but I can join up. We worked on her last night, gently, slowly, softly, and she started coming around. So I have to modify, and I can't say, well, I can't train my horse because I do not have the timing and the feel that Brannaman has. I didn't never get to work with Ray Hunt, and I don't have a 50-foot round pen or a 30-foot round pen. I don't have an arena. It doesn't matter. I've got 30 years of experience, and I've got all of this education that I have taken, and I can sift through it and say, well, I can use this and this works, and I can use this and this works. So you have two weapons in your arsenal. The number one weapon is yourself and your education. Study everybody and use everything and pick what you need that will fit you and your situation. And the second thing is time. Time. These guys that do these Road to the Horse, these are all world-class horse trainers, okay? I'm not speaking down on any of them. They're 100 times better than I am. But I think there has been a negative thing has come out of these Road to the Horse and these competitions where you take colts and in 1 day or 2 days. And so people have subconsciously gotten the idea, I've got to get this done. I've got 30 days to get this. No, you don't unless you're making a living. But you've got time. Take your time. Do what you need to do and get it. Make sure your colt, make sure your horse has that figured out, that you're both comfortable with it, and then build on that in the next step. If you don't do this, okay, if you don't be logical, if you don't be reasonable, it's not going to be safe and you're not going to have fun. Okay, slow down and be you. Do you. And study and learn. All right? So, like so much of the stuff that I put on here and teach, it's more the philosophy of it, how you approach it, how you look at it, whether you determines whether you're going to be successful or not. Okay? So if you've kind of gotten to the point where you're like, this isn't working, I don't know what I'm going to do because I can't afford the $600 to go to this person's 3-day clinic, you don't need to. All right? You don't need to. You can do this. All right? So the wind's starting to come up, so I'm going to cut this off before it's destroyed. But as always, again, be logical, be reasonable, be safe, and have fun. You got to be you. All right? We'll talk to you next time.